Welcome here to the Ridealong podcast, being recorded live and direct in the Surf Hotel Skybar, which, by the way, if you happen to be a bit of a nomad and just looking to do a bit of work on computer, as one of the guys in the corner is over there, this is the place to hang out. This is where it's at. And this is where we kind of chill and wait and see what the wind's doing. As you can see, if you're watching this live on screen, by the way, right now, it's, just after 12 o'clock. The middle of August, and we've got our usual onshore morning sea breeze. Perfect for learning and developing some skills on a windsurf board, which is kind of what this podcast is all about today. Is Vassiliki is known for an amazing windsurfing spot. And just to run you through that, the morning, there is absolutely no wind until about 10:30, maybe 11 o'clock. And then this lovely sea breeze comes through. So gentle force 2-ish. Really light wind, never, very rarely planing conditions in the morning, but perfect, like I mentioned, about gaining skills, control, and actually a lot of my advanced lessons, guys learning to carve drive, we do stuff in the morning winds. It's really beneficial. Excuse me, hiccups. Then early afternoon, 3-ish, it switches to blow from the right-hand side and starts to get pretty windy. And depending on the time of season, it can blow until 6, 7, 8, or last night was about 9 o'clock at night when the things finally started to round up. So Vassiliki is known for the windsurfing, but as you've seen on this channel already, there's loads of cool stuff you can do here that doesn't involve wind, doesn't involve water sports necessarily, or I should say, it doesn't involve wind sports, but there's loads of stuff you can do. So you've probably seen on the channel already, I've done a little bit of e-biking with eVas just down the way. I've been out on an electric skateboard and tearing up the same bike routes, but on a skateboard. We've done some e-foiling as well, which, by the way, you have to try e-foiling. It's so much fun. From the Surf Hotel right here, they've got a couple of e-foils that you can rent out or kind of go out with coaching for an hour or so each morning when it's glass flat. And if you're learning to windsurf foil or wind foil, e-foiling is an amazing complementary skill, and they really help each other out. Like if you're having trouble with foil skills, get on the e-foil and it works really, really well. But today, completely different sport, going under the water this time rather than on the water around the bay. So I've brought with me a special guest from Freedivelefkada. This is Will Graham. Hi.
Hi, thanks very much for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. So I'm Will from Freedivelefkada, and as the name might suggest, I run freedive lessons here in Vassiliki.
So freediving is scuba diving without a tank?
No. Kind of similar. It's a bit of a misconception. I mean, it's obviously you're going under the water. So the idea is that we're diving under the water to similar kind of depths that scuba divers are, but we're holding the breath. The difference is that the reason that we're doing it is slightly different. Scuba diving is about going down, having a look at stuff, exploring, spending more time under the water and being able to see stuff. Freediving is taught more as a sport in its own right. It's not necessarily about going down and seeing stuff. It's more maybe similar to rock climbing, weirdly, whereby it's not just about going and looking at stuff, but you're kind of pushing yourself, developing your skills, getting more comfortable in some funky scenarios. So yeah, it's pretty good.
So do people come to you having never done this before? This isn't just an elite sport.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, with what we do, we offer beginner lessons that start from very, very basics. All of our courses start in the morning with like an hour and a half of theory. We basically teach you the process of holding your breath in a safe environment out of the water. Once we've done that, we take you into the swimming pool and we get you holding your breath using the same kind of skills and the same process, but just laying on the surface of the water. And we just do that to get you comfortable with the whole idea of holding your breath, and we teach you the safety needed to make sure you're doing that effectively. And then once you've done that, in the afternoon, we then take you into the water and we start applying that breath hold to actually diving down a dive rope. So we get people, in fact, I would say most of our customers are people who have never free a dive before. We get people as well who are not even particularly confident swimmers, which is, it sounds unintuitive, but because you've got a wetsuit on, you're very floaty, and you're also breathing through a mask and a snorkel, so it's very easy to breathe. You don't actually need to be able to tread water, which is good for people like me who are very dense, and I don't really float anyway. So yeah, it's good.
And I saw a class going on yesterday, and is that I think it was a beginner class. They were sitting on the side of the pool, or actually they were lying in the pool with their feet hanging over the side of the pool.
Yeah, that's
doing
it.
some breath work with your partner.
Yeah, that's it. So yesterday we had an IDA one-day taster course. So Ellie, my partner, would have spent the morning teaching our pupil the process of holding the breath. And then at the end of that morning, we then do quite a lengthy sort of theory session on equalization. So, for anyone who's dived to the bottom of a 2-meter swimming pool, you end up feeling that pressure on the ears, sometimes even pain. The process of equalization is that we teach you how to manually pump extra air into your ear through your eustachian tubes, which equalizes that pressure, and it means you can dive without any pain or discomfort. And part of the way we teach that is to get you looking like a melon, hanging with your feet on the side of the pool and just dipping your head under the water. Just teaches you how to do that technique, but with your head down. So that's kind of what we're doing with that one.
Obviously, there's a lot to it. It's a whole course. But what do you mean by teaching someone how to hold their breath? Like, it sounds obvious, but obviously there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, for most people, if I said hold your breath, you'd probably do something like this. So we'd have like the cheeks puffed up.
By the way, if you're not watching the screen right now,
oh yeah, sorry,
we'll pretty much look like a fish for a second just there.
Essentially, you do like your best pufferfish impression. So like cheeks puffed up, they'll take a quick breath, and then they'll be there shaking and eyes bulging. And you can hold your breath like that, but it's just not a super effective way of doing it. So what we do is we teach you a process of deep relaxation first. We're allowing your time for your heart rate to slow down, for your breathing rate to slow down. And then we teach you the process of actually taking in the maximum amount of air you can do into your lungs. So as adult humans, we tend to be quite lazy with the way that we breathe. We tend to breathe mostly just through the chest and through the nose, just what we would describe as tidal breaths, so just natural, slow breaths. And what we're teaching you to do is to breathe in through the belly first, using the bottom half of the lungs, so diaphragmatic breathing. Inflate the bottom half of the lungs and then activating the chest to inflate the top part of the lungs. So you're kind of breaking that breath down into two phases. And by doing that, it means that you can take in the maximum amount of air in the most efficient and comfortable way possible. Once you've done that, then obviously we're onto the breath hold itself. And a lot of what we're teaching you is just little techniques you can use to keep yourself distracted from the fact that you're holding your breath. If I said hold your breath right now, you could probably do 35 to 45 seconds, but it gets very uncomfortable. And what we're teaching you is how to relax into that discomfort. And we're also kind of teaching you that when you feel like you need to breathe, you actually don't. When you get that urge to breathe, that's not because you're running out of oxygen. It's because you have very slightly elevated levels of CO2 in your blood. And it's that elevated levels of CO2 that your body uses to determine whether or not you're running out of air. And in an untrained diver, we get that very quickly. So we spend that whole morning just teaching you that process and then how to safely recover from a breath hold afterwards. We'll often get people, on their very first morning, we can normally coach people up to around a 2-minute breath hold.
2 minutes?
2 minutes,
on the first morning of learning
on the very first morning, normally within the first 45 minutes, we'll be able to coach you up to a 2-minute breath hold. And it's because we're starting to teach you that actually, when you think you need to breathe, you actually don't. And to really cement this idea in your head, we'll normally get you holding your breath with a pulse oximeter on your finger, so we can look at how much oxygen you have in your blood. And we'll normally see that you can hold your breath for as long as you possibly can, and your blood oxygen saturation might have dropped by 2 or 3%, essentially nothing. So yeah, it's quite an interesting process. You'd be amazed at how far you can push yourself by the end of one morning. I mean,
I'm sitting here right now, breathing in the weirdest way that I've never even thought about before. Is it similar to Pilates breathing and yoga breathing? There's a lot of breath work that goes in there.
Very similar. Very similar. Whenever we talk about, like the belly breathing that you're going to do in yoga, that is essentially partly what we're teaching you. We focus a little bit less on it because it's more about just taking the single one full breath rather than repeated diaphragmatic breathing. It's very similar. The other difference is that with yoga, you'll often be taught to breathe through your nose. And what we teach you is to breathe through your mouth, because you'll normally be breathing through a snorkel once you're actually diving. So
that would make
a little bit different, but very, very similar.
Is there anything people can do if they're thinking of doing freediving out here then with you guys before they come? Would yoga, Pilates help, or is there some sort of breathing exercise they can do at home?
Yeah, definitely. Doing like a little bit of yoga is always going to help you, because it sounds silly, but you know how to relax. The biggest struggle for beginner freedivers and the biggest limiting factor is just that level of relaxation. So if you know how to relax already, that's quite useful. But to be honest, whenever you book a course with us, we will normally try to have like a video chat with you beforehand, and we'll give you some breathing exercises and also some gentle breathwork exercises that you can do beforehand anyway. And that just puts you in a nice position for when you actually attend the course.
It's interesting you just said about relax, because a lot of stuff I've talked about on this channel with windsurfing, of course, and even skiing as well, is if someone tells you to relax, you want to punch them in the face.
Yep.
And my old ski instructor was exactly that. I hated him because he kept telling me to relax. And I'm like, I'm so out of my comfort zone, I'm skiing this. Or a windsurf instructor, there tells you to relax. So the skill that you're going to put to the students is how to relax. We can't just say, lie there and relax. We need to find a way to do it.
This is it. I mean, a lot of it comes down to distraction techniques. What we're trying to do with freediving is we're trying to lose track of time, and we're trying to lose track of depth. Whenever we become really goal-oriented and we're trying to get to the bottom, or we're trying to force ourselves to hold our breath, becomes super unpleasant. We want to end up daydreaming. So a lot of what we're teaching you is distraction techniques.
Opposite what I was told at school, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, allow yourself to daydream. If you have negative thoughts that come in, don't try to push them out. Allow them to occupy your mind, and they'll drift off in their own time. We talked to you about one of the ones that's quite familiar, if you've done yoga, is a body scan. So we're getting you to think, and it sounds a bit hippie now, but I promise you it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But it's think consciously about different muscles in your body and search for areas of tension. People often hold a lot of tension in their shoulders. They'll hold their shoulders up. So we just want you to relax those. They'll normally twitch their legs in awkward ways. So with a body scan, we're getting you to consciously think about each different part of your body, searching for areas of tension that you can then relax. And we want you to do that because if you're relaxed, you're burning less oxygen. The other thing is we can teach you, and something that I started doing, which really helps, is actually I imagine myself getting ready for school when I was a kid. What was the process I would go through to get myself ready for school, and then I would take myself through my bike ride up to school. So Cookie and I actually went to the same school, so yeah, a few years apart. But I would imagine myself riding up to Thorndon and all the junctions I would pass. And again, because you're doing that, I'm not focused on the time. So it's these kind of distraction techniques, and they're super important as a beginner, but as you become a more proficient freediver, that relaxation comes more naturally, and you stop needing those distraction techniques. You can kind of just lose yourself in the moment a bit more naturally. So it's super interesting, though.
Yeah, nice. Now, the more time you spend with the students, you jump in your boat and you take them off to a few little areas.
Yeah, that's it. So all of the like the beginner stuff we do. So first day, we'll normally swim directly from the beach. We have a little dive spot on one of the slightly quieter beaches just around the back of Vassiliki, where we're out the way of all the windsurfers and the sailors. And there's quite nice because it's about 15 meters deep. It's quite comforting because you can still see the bottom. And that's something that can sometimes freak people out. So we just have a nice, gentle swim out from the beach, and you can always see the bottom. Once divers are getting a little bit more proficient and they need a bit more depth, our beginner courses will take you down to a maximum depth of 20 meters on a single breath. And we need a bit more depth. Then we head out in the boat. And again, we can just position ourselves in a place where we're out the way of the windsurfers. And because we often dive in the afternoons as well, we get cross-shore. So we can take the boat. It means we can hug up next to the mountain, and we don't have waves. We don't have windsurfers. So
I've seen you tucked in. I know
we tuck right up out the way of everyone, and it's really nice actually. It's good.
So like a lot of people do come here not as windsurfers. Actually, it's just a beautiful bay, a really nice island.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter.
I mean, even it's a bit of a weird one trying to describe to windsurfers, Vassiliki is a windsurf spot. It's like, yeah, but people actually come out on a holiday just to dive with us as well. We have people who will book sort of 3-day beginner courses with us, and they fly out just to dive with us, and they don't even realize that Vassiliki is famous for windsurfing.
Yeah.
But no, we do get walk-ins as well, just people generally from the island who see what we do, and they come along. Normally they'll start with a 1-day taster course. And after the first day, we're normally able to suggest that maybe they should just stick around for the next day and a half, and very often they do.
Yeah,
it's super rewarding when you get someone who maybe it's the boyfriend who's been dragged along by the yoga girlfriend who doesn't want to do it, and then he ends up enjoying it more than she does. It's happened a few times. Is
it the competitor side? Do you think you've done that? I've done that, or is it the opposite? The relaxation.
But I think because freediving, again, because what we're teaching is relaxation, the competitive side of it often disappears. Because we're trying to keep everything very slow, and the techniques we're teaching you are focusing on you becoming really hyper relaxed. The competitive side normally dips away. It's just the enjoyment that is the reason they stick around. So you end up experiencing sensations with freediving that you don't normally have in everyday life. It's kind of a mixture of deep relaxation, euphoria, and deep satisfaction. It's totally different to windsurfing, to be honest. It's totally different end of the spectrum. Like when I windsurf, I try to get as G'd up as possible because I'm trying to do big moves and they're a bit scary. Freediving is totally opposite end of the spectrum. It's pretty cool. So
I haven't gone freediving with you yet. This is in the cards very soon. I've been scuba diving quite a bit though, and I always found it a funny one because it didn't feel like a sport, but I'd always finish knackered at the end of an hour dive or 40-minute dive. Is this the same sort of experience? Yeah,
freediving is pretty similar. I mean, freediving, it's a little bit more active, I would say. Like a lot of what we're teaching you to do is swim up and down the line. It's not just, with scuba diving, you've got control of your buoyancy using your air supply. So you don't have to necessarily work to get down and up. You can control that using your buoyancy. Freediving is a bit different where you are swimming up and down. So it's a little bit more active. But it's also because you are spending so much time in such a deep state of relaxation. You normally finish your session naturally feeling quite tired and quite sleepy.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that. For me now, I've been teaching almost back-to-back consecutive courses for about 2.5 weeks now. I've been in the water every single day, and I'm feeling it right now.
Is that the freediving, or is that the fact that you windsurf every afternoon as well?
That might be something to do with it as well, to be honest. But yeah, it does take a little bit of a strain on your nervous system, because you're just so hyper relaxed all the time. It's super interesting. It's good.
Nice. Well, if anyone's coming to Lefkada at all, anywhere on the island, it's about an hour drive from the north to south. So actually the whole island is stunning. But if you're anywhere in Lefkada or just across, Palaros isn't far away at all. Or Vassiliki, which is where Will, myself, and everything that's on this channel is based through the summer. All of the contact details for Freedivelefkada are going to be in the description of this video, as well as links to all the social medias and a couple of videos they've made along the way. So any information I can put, I'll put in the description of this video, so you can find out. You get in touch with Will and Ellie. And my best advice, I suppose, is get something booked up. Both of us, we were checking our schedules about when we could film this, and we planned it about 2 weeks ago, because there's so much stuff getting backed and forth. So do get in touch sooner rather than later if you're coming anywhere near this island, you fancy giving it a go. Any final words from us?
Yeah, I mean, just really our season's slightly longer as well than the windsurf one. So we're operating well into November. And so the water at the moment is 29 degrees, which is warmer than the weather in the UK at the moment, I think.
That's the water temperature, not the air temperature.
So yeah, we've got a slightly longer season. But no, we'd love to have you out there. And if you've got any questions, just drop us a message. Drop us a message on WhatsApp, Instagram, anything, any questions at all, we're more than happy to answer. So, yeah.
And all of that will be in the description of this video.
Fantastic.
So, thanks for everyone joining me here, and I will see you at some point here in Vassiliki, whether it's diving or whether it's under the water or on top of the water. Nice cheesy finish for you guys. Thanks very much.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, guys.